All right, let's talk about it. That invisible wall between what some people call genre fiction and so-called serious literature. We're going to unpack this whole debate, and we're going to do it through one single, really telling story that just lays it all out there. Let's dive in. So, get this. Imagine a colleague telling you they couldn't read science fiction because they take it so unseriously they'd just burst out laughing. I mean, wow. That one comment is pretty much the spark for this entire explainer. It's such a bold, dismissive take on a whole universe of stories, and it perfectly sets the stage for everything that follows. And you really have to ask, right? How can someone just write off an entire category of storytelling that easily? What's behind a judgment that sweeping? That's exactly what the author of our source material was left wondering, and it's the big question we're going to explore together. So where did this all go down? You might think it was in some stuffy book club or a university classroom, but nope. It happened somewhere way more normal. A place where these kinds of cultural divides just have a way of popping up when you least expect them. The scene is just a retirement party for a coworker. Totally casual, friendly. You know the vibe. People are just hanging out, chatting, and it's the perfect setting for a completely innocent comment to suddenly snowball into this really deep debate about culture and art. So the conversation drifts over to trivia questions. Somebody brings up asking about Picasso's dog, and our author, in that same spirit, makes his own little nerdy joke. A trivia question about H.P. Lovecraft's cat. Seems like a harmless, geeky reference, right? Well, the reaction he got was definitely not what he was expecting. And this is the moment where everything just shifts. His joke completely bombs, it just hangs in the air, met with total silence, and in that silence, he realizes there's this massive cultural gap that he had no idea even existed. So, how many of his colleagues at the table knew who H.P. Lovecraft was? Zero. Zilch. Nada. Not a single person. And the author was just floored. To him, Lovecraft is this huge, foundational figure in literature. To them, the name meant absolutely nothing. And to make it even wilder, the guest of honor himself, the guy they were all there to celebrate, he didn't know the name either. This wasn't just a fluke. This was a complete and total cultural disconnect. Okay, so the author tries to bridge the gap. He gives them the quick and simple version, He's this really influential writer of horror and fantasy. Just a little context. But that brief intro led to a response that was even more astonishing. The retiring colleague asked this, and with total seriousness. It wasn't just that he didn't know the name, he couldn't understand why anyone would. That question was just dripping with this assumption, this prejudice, that kind of fiction is somehow beneath a serious person. And that really gets to the core of the issue. This whole conversation really forced the author to think hard about these pretty arbitrary lines we draw between different kinds of stories. I mean, where does literature actually end and genre begin? It's a line that seems to get blurrier all the time. And this was the author's internal reaction, the perfect analogy for his frustration. Dismissing all of sci-fi or fantasy? Yeah, that's like saying you don't like a single dish from all of French cuisine. It just completely ignores the incredible diversity and artistry that exists under that one big, broad label. So, what really separates these things? Think about it this way. You have a powerful story about life and what it means to be human. Everyone agrees. Yep, that's literature. But what happens if you tell that exact same story, but you just make the main character a robot? Does that one change suddenly make it silly? Does it lose all its artistic value? And hey, this isn't just a hypothetical. Take a real-world example, Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This guy won the Nobel Prize in Literature. It doesn't get more serious than that. And guess what? The book's narrator is an artificial friend, a robot. Is anyone calling that ridiculous and laughable? Of course not. So all of this really pushes us toward the biggest question of all. What exactly is it that makes a story serious in the first place? It kind of forces us to challenge the very definitions we use to judge storytelling. And this is the key question the author leaves us with. If you have a brilliant, beautiful story about family and society, but it includes one piece of tech that doesn't exist yet, like a flying car, is all its emotional weight just gone? Why should that one element be the thing that disqualifies it?
And in the end, that's what this whole story leaves us wrestling with. Where is this line, really? Is it a meaningful distinction that helps us appreciate art? Or is it maybe just a form of cultural snobbery, a convenient way to dismiss things we just don't understand? It's a question that's definitely worth thinking about.